and get going. I believe that we have some opening remarks today. You heard from the wonderful Mike Costache yesterday. He is, of course, the co-chair of D10E. He is also a bunch of other things as well. He's had an incredible career, managing partner at CrowdMentor, the founder of the Blockchain Investors Consortium and the Blockchain Exchange Consortium, serves on the advisory board of Token as a Service, which is the first ever tokenized closed-end fund dedicated to investment in blockchain assets. He's going to be giving some opening remarks today, so can you please give him a very warm welcome to the stage.
Hey, thank you, Naomi. Thank you to all of you who decided to join us this morning. Sorry we're again late. We kind of got everybody used to starting 1 hour behind since everybody parties too much the night before. But today we have two amazing guests that I've had the pleasure of watching them during the roadshow, during the ICO, and then post-ICO, or TGE, whatever you choose to call them. And before we do that, I have a very special announcement. Today we have 3 of the 4 founding partners of TOSS, Token as a Service, with us. And since they've always backed up from the original ICO pitch competition back in Kiev in September, and since then we've invested $1.8 million in 19 ventures, raising money through ICOs. They decided to up their game from the $50,000 to $100,000 they've been putting in every one of these events. And today, and hopefully moving forward, they decided to choose one of the 25 companies. Maybe it's one of the top 3, maybe it's number 7, maybe it's number 25, who knows. They will choose to invest $100,000 on top of that to one lucky winner, and then hopefully even more money, and then raise more money for them. So that's a great piece of news that I want to impart with you today. But my welcoming remarks are very simple today. I hope you networked your butt off yesterday, had great dinners with new friends and old friends. And today we're going to hear from Galia, Benartzi, this is one of the 3 co-founders of Bancor Network, and from Rune, Evensen, who's here from Singapore, originally from Europe. So I'm going to welcome you to stage, and let's have a little fun about how to get listed on exchanges and what's going on with the crazy world of exchanges, because everybody's raising money right now, but then you're going to need liquidity, which is really all your investors want from you, besides building a real business. Please come up. Round of applause for them. They woke up early. Sure. So, I'll start with our wonderful lady friend here. Bancor, March of last year, just 1 year ago, you were running around the world, San Francisco, Puerto Rico, New York, and so forth, trying to explain people this notion of Bancor. Was it easier during the roadshow or after you finished this amazing $153 million token generation event in 2 hours and 25 minutes?
So thanks for having us, and thanks everyone for being here and being up so early. So Bancor launched in June of last year, and like you said, we were on the road the entire year before at events just like this. We presented at D10E in May, just before the token launch. I always tell people that life actually begins after the ICO or after your TGE, and you can expect a very intense period to follow what you think is the most intense period that could ever be. Bancor is a difficult concept to explain because it's new. So this is the innovator's dilemma. When you invent paradigms that the world hasn't seen before, they at first can sound hard to digest, and I have a presentation on this coming up for those of you who want to learn more. The challenge, of course, with the token generation event climate is that you need kind of easy and digestible messages for your audience, and especially in a social media environment where you have folks on a 1 or 2 sentence bandwidth, right? So if you're doing complex new concepts, you really need to find the right audience that has the appetite to go deep. But we're practicing, we're getting better every day, and I think putting out products and getting volume into your products and users into your products is ultimately the best way to explain them.
But during your roadshow, you were saying, I'm a protocol, I'm a token, I'm an exchange, I'm all these different things. It was very hard for many people to grasp a year ago all that. Now we've had 600 TGs. Now we have, I don't know, maybe over 100 well-known exchanges. So congratulations for surviving that craziness and now being such a household name. So June 6th, we did D10E Tel Aviv. June 8th, I met Rune back in Bucharest, where his technology is developed by a team of wonderful people. And then June 12th, I'm sitting there and I'm doing refresh for 2 hours and 25 minutes, watching as this crazy money, 10,833 contributors. I'll never forget that number because it was just so humongous. So on your side, you went on a roadshow for how long?
We basically did every mistake in the book. If you look at how not to do an ICO, you should see our picture. So if learning by mistakes makes you improve and become better, we have earned the rights to call ourselves experts today. We started off with 0 Telegram channels, 0 Slack. We didn't build a community. We didn't do a proper roadshow. We thought, let's push it through social media. People love the idea and they will buy in. Obviously, that didn't. So we had a very small token sale, but our exchange was already up. So we had the basic platform. And COSS, as you know, is short for Crypto One-Stop Solution. Our white paper was 49 pages. We wanted to do everything, the full ecosystem, everything from day one. That, of course, ended up us being mediocre on everything.
But there were 8 things. What was the first thing you were
The first thing was payment gateway. Then it was market cap overview. It was B2B remittance. It was P2P remittance. And I think number 7 or 8 or something was exchange.
Right. So the lesson there is pivot and go with the market.
Yes, but also to all of those new ICO. I mean, I also remember the Bancor one. I actually managed to come in on the ICO. And back then, we could actually tick off in the calendar, right? 6 weeks from now, there will be an interesting ICO. Right now and today, you hear about, oh, did you hear about this ICO? They raised 200 million. No, when is it? No, it's finished yesterday, right? There are so many ICOs, but continue to do mistakes.
Right. So centralized versus decentralized exchanges. People are still confused about what that means. So
yeah, we are a centralized exchange, opposite to a decentralized protocol as Bancor. I think decentralized systems are coming more and more into the space. As of today, 2018, especially early 2018, I don't think the tech is there yet. You look at other exchanges that they operate on one chain, right? For example, Ether Delta, you need to be ERC20, and they can't do fiat. So that's where the advantage of a centralized system today is, but whether or not the centralized system will be able to keep that advantage going forwards, only time will tell.
So Bancor was the first one to disallow anyone in any conversation to say ICO, and you kind of coined, even though a year before that people were talking about TG, token generation event, but you really were adamant about not calling it an ICO because you're both American, you're Israeli, the technology is being developed in Israel, but you felt this responsibility of being very compliant, just like you. You said earlier you have 7 people in compliance and very few people in marketing, which is great. This is where it's all going. So in terms of the way you branded yourself as we invented the smart, not the smart contract, but the smart token, I thought that was brilliant. So tell us about how you created the smart token.
Yeah, so the issue around compliance, some people could cynically look at it and say it's just syntax, ICO, TGE, but really the word ICO is so catchy and so we all use it, but it implies a similarity to an initial public offering, and really these token generation events are so different. Right? An initial public offering is a company that is mature, that's in the market, that has products, that has revenues, that has governance. And a token generation event is actually exactly the opposite. It is the birth moment, not the maturity moment, the way that we're used to with public offerings. And so the moment that a token or a project or a network is being birthed, is being generated, is a very, very different moment. So that's why we were so insistent on using that terminology. A smart token, and we'll get into this more with Bancor, is, like you said, it's a protocol for how to create currencies which are autonomously convertible. So when we talk about exchanges and we talk about centralized and decentralized, Bancor is actually a third type of exchange, if you will. It's a network. It's a liquidity network. And so I think one of the interesting things for us here on stage and in this room to consider is really where does technology take us as we move forward, and how are some of the paradigms that we're used to thinking about changing? So a smart token in its essence exchanges itself through its smart contract. You can buy a smart token from its smart contract, and you can sell a smart token back to its smart contract in exchange for any of the other tokens that it's connected to in this network. So when you even talk about exchange and exchanging currencies between people, Bancor doesn't even match people to exchange. There are no buyer and seller matching. All the buyers are matched to smart contracts, and all the sellers are matched to smart contracts. And so it really is this third wave and third technology paradigm that we can look at.
Great, great. So you're both known as exchanges, right? You're both known as, you've done your own TGEs, you have your own token, which is a whole other product to sell. How are you positioned to the US market, which is very regulated? And you know, what is the process to get listed on your exchange? Because that's really the topic of this panel. I just wanted to give a little historic analysis of where you come from and how both of you are just less than a year old. A year ago, you were running around like crazy, like most of you here, trying to figure out how to position yourself. And you had this beautiful 5 languages, white paper, yellow paper, pink paper. You had like everything ever invented that an investor would want to see. And now you're an exchange, and people are throwing, you know, money at you and trying to chase after you at conferences. I've seen you at conferences, you don't even want people to know who you are. And same thing for you, because everybody wants to get it listed, because you promised your investors, contributors, that you will give them liquidity. And now it's become the hardest thing is not to raise the money, but to prove that you will get liquidity. So how are you dealing with thousands of people coming at you and begging you for getting listed? Because exchanges today don't have a set criteria. Like getting listed on NASDAQ, you know what you have to do. You know at what level you have to play. In your case, how do you deal with this influx of love?
Right now, it might sound like a lot of work, but actually the most of the new tokens that we are listing now, I personally meet the team. But we have an absolute requirement of a thorough legal opinion based on Singapore SFA, Security and Futures Act, and only a licensed Singapore lawyer or solicitor is allowed to give advice.
Do you give people a list of these lawyers?
Yes,
use one of these?
we can provide them with recommendations of lawyers.
Step 1, show me that you're not a security
We don't
token.
accept the US legal opinion or a Swiss one or a Hong Kong one, because the lawyers there cannot legally advise on Singapore's Securities and Futures Act. So that's number 1. And once we have the legal opinion, it goes to our compliance team. If they approve it, then we reach out and discuss listing terms.
Okay, so that's step 1.
Yeah, that's step 1.
Well, step 1 is meeting the team and liking them, the business model. Step 2 is you having a legal letter of opinion that this token is not a security token. And then third?
Yeah, we have multiple companies here that actually are now, you shouldn't talk too much about future listings for these token generating events, but I prefer to personally meet with the teams. And being based in Singapore, and Singapore is like known to be friendly and pro-fintech, pro-crypto. There are regulations coming in Singapore. We have, both through our company, through Access, the Association for Cryptocurrencies and Blockchain Enterprises in Singapore, and also Singapore FinTech Association. We have been replying to MAS on their consultancy paper on their new bill payments that will also license. They're not targeting so much to license virtual currency, but more the virtual currency facilitators. That means exchanges, remittance companies.
But to start this whole process, besides showing up to a conference here and meeting you off stage or in the hallway, is there a form on your website or?
Yes.
Yeah?
There is, step 1 is of course the form on the website, and there is stated the process that first you submit the form, second is to provide a legal opinion, third is once you get a reply from our compliance team, we reach out. And
you pretty much are one of the original pioneers who said, don't wait until after your TGE, come to me during your roadshow, and I can possibly give you a letter, right, stating that if you play by so-and-so rule, I will list you, which is a huge benefit during your roadshow, correct? You pretty much pioneered.
Yes, of course, there are different jurisdictions, and people are saying that during an ICO, you should actually not promote that you will be listed, because that can be an indication of increased value, etc. So I recommend everyone to like, we can do a company-to-company agreement, but they should not use that in their pitch for the TGE.
So after all this due diligence and process and letters and issuance back and forth, you will eventually list them. Technically speaking, it takes only a few hours to get them listed after all the paperwork
Of course,
is done.
depending a little bit on what kind of token they are. For an ERC20 token, it's one 2 hour. But of course, if they have developed their own blockchain, then we have to set up the nodes to run the wallets, etc. So that.
And now you
takes
have
time.
about 100 and...
We have about 90 pairs right
90.
now, and a lot more coming. But it is all about compliance now. It is absolute on the legal opinions, and now we're implementing full ongoing screening. So we will also do screening up against sanctions lists, politically exposed people, etc., even on the teams behind the ICOs.
Perfect. And on your side, is there a web forum, or do they have to
Yes.
come to a conference and meet you?
Yeah, we actually have the exact opposite philosophy, which is you don't even need to talk to Bancor in order to activate your token in the network. Many people do, but you certainly don't have to. The Bancor liquidity network is completely open source and completely decentralized. So the way that tokens list themselves in the network, join the network, is by staking their own tokens to the network and by staking our tokens, the BNT, Bancor Network Token, to the network. Everything is online, everything is open source. We don't generally diligence the tokens that are joining because it is an open source network. You can think of it a lot like YouTube, right, in the early days as a platform for video and allowing anyone to upload their video. Of course, over time, you want to develop a strategy where copyrighted content is not on your network and all the different elements that you want to deal with, but the network itself is completely open source. The Bancor protocol is completely open source. And so we believe that liquidity is a birthright of a token, not a privilege. Right, if you look at the paradigm that we come from, where tokens pay listing fees, and there are businesses in the middle which match buyers and sellers, we believe smart contracts can do this better than humans can do it, and they can do it for free, essentially. And so a lot of those fees in the middle and a lot of the inefficiency of that market can now be solved with smart contracts and by building an exchange which is more like a network. So the beauty of a network is that the more it's used, the more powerful it is, right? Like the first 10 users on Facebook didn't get that much value out of Facebook, but the billionth user gets a tremendous amount of value out of Facebook now because of the growth of the network. And so as tokens join the Bancor network and they stake their own tokens and BNT to the network, the liquidity pool of the network grows for everyone, which means that price slippage is low for everyone. So the more tokens join, the more tokens benefit from being part of a decentralized liquidity network like Bancor.
And how many tokens right now listed?
Today we have 50 tokens live and active on the network, about one joining per day at this point. And another kind of interesting difference in architecting a network in this way is that there are no pairs. So any token in the network can be traded, exchanged for any other token in the network. You don't have to set up trading pairs, and we don't even have an order book in the traditional way. It's a math formula that calculates exchange rates between tokens in an automated way based on supply and demand. And so you don't actually need to set up, each token to BTC or each token to ETH. Every token exchanges for every other token in the network.
Okay, so you're going to list COSS as well, or he has to start the process?
We'd love to have you on the network.
So there are matchmakers.
So it's not so much matchmaking. It's if you want to activate.
I was talking about me. I just invited him
Are
to
you
be
the
listed.
matchmaker?
I just invited him to be listed on your exchange.
Thank you.
And are you going to be listing her?
We are trading Bancor
There you go. You have to come all the way to Seoul.
against Bitcoin and Ether.
Wonderful. Yeah, and in Bancor, you would trade BNT against any of these 50 tokens that are live. So it's just a different paradigm, right? Rather than looking for someone who's selling the token that you want to buy, the BNT smart contract will always sell every token that you want to buy and will always buy every token that you want to sell at its currently calculated price. So there very well may be a situation where the price is better on COSS than on Bancor for a token that you want. And in that case, you should buy it on COSS. And there may be situations where the price is better on the Bancor network, and in that case, you should buy it on the Bancor network.
And just quickly, how do you explain the relay? Because a lot of people have been getting these emails about the Bancor TOS relay, the Bancor Sense relay. How do you explain that to people in the shortest way?
Yeah, it's a bit complex. The concept of a relay token within the Bancor network ecosystem is like a node within the exchange, within the network. And so the way that you activate, for example, TOS, the way that you activate your token into the Bancor network, if you've already launched and you're a traditional ERC20 token, is that you essentially create a new smart token, let's call it TOS BNT, and that's where you stake your TOS and your BNT, and that smart token becomes a conduit for TOS into the network. And so the interesting part about the smart token, the TOS BNT token, is that any users can buy these tokens, these relay tokens. And what that means is they effectively are now pro rata holders of that exchange node. So if that exchange node is accumulating contribution amounts, we call them, from liquidity that's going through the node in the network, any owner of that relay, any owner of any tokens in that relay is a pro rata holder and beneficiary of those contributions. So you can think of it in the classic exchange model, if all of the exchange fees were completely distributed pro rata to all the users of the exchange. That's a bit how the relay token works.
If you want to know exactly what she said, just go to Bancor. .protocol. Network, and try to buy a TOS token or a Sense token or any of the 50 tokens, and you'll understand. And then you could go to TOS.fund and see the 6 exchanges that they're listed on, and you can go to any of those exchanges and try to buy there, and you can see the difference in easiness of buying, and the difference in price, and the difference of liquidity. But in 1 year from today, how many tokens? I mean, there's 580 tokens the past year. When TOS did their token generation event last March, April, and then you were in June and you were in August, back then there were maybe 100 tokens altogether. Now there's about 600. Where are we going to be? And is it like the Apple store that within 5 years there were 1 million apps, or are we going to have 1 million tokens in 5 years?
We basically have about 500 pending listing requests now. And I assume there is a couple of hundred token generating events per month. Right?
Just here, there's 200.
You have the room here. And being from an exchange and being at settings like this, when you have pitching competitions and not only a lot of established companies that are sharing their knowledge and experience, but a lot of new companies coming up, they're all interested in speaking to the exchanges, right? So that list is just growing. It is way beyond, I mean, the Bancor protocol, where you can do it yourself, you don't have to directly interact. So any of you can go online, you can follow that process and more easily get onto a decentralized system compared to a centralized one, we are answering to Singapore, right? So we are incorporated there, our legal entity is there, our headquarters there. So we need to follow that process. We can't do it in a decentralized way. You answer to multiple regulators based on your setup. We answer to MAS in Singapore.
What is a prediction? 1 year, we're going to have 5 years, we're going to have 1 million tokens.
No, right now, maybe around 1,500 on CoinMarketCap. That will grow to thousands. That will
Thousands.
grow to thousands.
Very vague. Okay. You don't want to be quoted. Okay. What about you? What do you think?
So Bancor believes in the long tail of tokens. YouTube is the long tail of user-generated video, and the blogosphere is the long tail of user-generated content. And Bancor believes in the long tail of user-generated value or user-generated currencies. In fact, the protocol was created to address this exact issue, which is, what do we do in a world with 1 million currencies? Do 1 million currencies need to get listed on exchanges? Do 1 million currencies need to be paying fees to middlemen in order to move hands? How does a world like that really function? And so the automated protocol comes to answer that, and we do believe that we'll see millions of currencies the way we see millions of blogs and
millions in 5 years?
I think that to me sounds about right.
All right. So 396,000 Ether in your wallet. as of June 12 last year. There was 153 million as a timestamp in the media. Today, that's valued, multiply that by whatever Ether is today, minus whatever you've spent. That's how much you have in your bank, so to speak. How do you justify on CoinMarketCap $190 million valuation when you have double that in actual assets?
Yeah, the concept of valuation is an interesting one, right? Because it reflects a lot of different sentiments that you can look at. Bancor is an interesting token specifically because of our architecture. So the Bancor network token, just like every token in our network, is connected to another token, and we're connected to Ether, actually at a 10% rate currently. And so the BNT price, more than any other price in CoinMarketCap, is directly and mathematically correlated to another token. I think that we're still very early days in people understanding some of these concepts. We're still in kind of the Wild West of looking at tokens for their spike value, right? Many folks are in this market in order to ride the spikes and benefit from the waves of volatility that we see. Bancor actually is built to be resistant to volatility and to be a more stable currency. This is a function of the math formula that's used in the exchange rate setting. So you can't actually skip prices like you can in an order book. The math forces you to hit every single price along a curve, which creates a much more stable price curve. So, 396,720 Ether that we raised, that we attracted in June. The price of Ether then was 400.
You drove it up. It wasn't 400.
The price of Ether a week before was 100. The price of Ether in that week of our launch was 400. The price of Ether in the week after our launch was 130. And the price of Ether last
But you had
month
nothing to
was
do with
1,300.
it, right? You had nothing to do with it.
You know, the network has a momentum of its own, certainly around peak events. But as we can see, in the past month, like I said, Ether reached 1,300. I highly doubt that had much to do with Bancor at this point, right? We're now 7 months past the launch, and today we see Ether at 800. So, we're still obviously in a very volatile market, and what I can say to teams that are attracting tokens in this sense is to really always take the responsible path, right? It can seem like it's inevitable that what you have will look like this or will look like that, but nothing really is inevitable in this market. The only thing that you are accountable to is your community and being able to deliver on the products that you've promised to build. So as long as you can do that, whether your pile looks like this or your pile looks like that, is less material, and I don't think that the valuations that we see in CoinMarketCap are correlated to those piles.
Well, obviously, if you have 400 million, 350 million in your bank account, and the market's valuing it at half of your actual assets, obviously it's a good time to buy. Obviously, people don't understand the value of it yet, and it's also because you penalize the investors that are just out there to make a killing. You pretty much eliminated any of their incentives to spike it up and then dump it, right? Because you controlled so much of your supply.
It's really because of how the math works and the ease of arbitrage in a frictionless trading environment. So the reason that spikes, pump and dumps as they're called, are so challenging in a paradigm like the Bancor network is that the moment a price starts to climb, let's say due to artificial manipulation of the market, the frictionless ability to sell that token back to the smart contract with no risk pretty much will eat away those profits almost instantly. Whereas in the regular market, when we see these pumps, the reason that people aren't able to liquidate or eat away those profits instantly are because of frictions, right? Either asymmetry of information or friction of getting accounts on the relevant exchanges, or the time delay that it takes to move money into and out of these exchanges. When you have an automated, always available, continuous and transparent smart contract that will always buy from you at the reflected price and always sell to you at the reflected price, you have a completely frictionless arbitrage opportunity, which means these pumps and these manipulated price increases don't have a chance to get off the ground. We actually wrote an article about this, which you can read on our blog.
And on your side, 34 million market cap for a company doing already pretty well on a monthly basis.
Back again to our ICO, where we did almost everything right. No, we raised around $3.5 million USD at the time. Was also at a low turn on the Ether. It was between 2 and 250. We took a corporate decision on staying on Ether, which was a good choice. So over the 8 months that have passed since our token sale, we have only converted small amounts of Ether on a monthly basis to pay salaries, to pay rent, etc., etc. So actually, the remainings of our Ether now is more than double of what we raised in our token sale. So that was a good decision from a corporate side.
But your token went up to over $3, and now it's down.
Yeah, I mean, I think we both can agree, sitting on the corporate side, that we will not post any predictions on our own tokens' future value. We can use historical facts. And we are currently now trading at above 20 times the pre-sale price. So
you're right now. It was 200 BNT for 1 Ether, right?
It was 100 BNT
100
to an
BNT
ETH.
to 1 Ether.
So to date, we are up in dollars and down in ETH.
Okay. So last piece of advice: how to get listed on exchanges, specifically yours, is go to the website.
I mean, there is so much talk. I think there will come more and more protocols now and platforms that will specifically list and be licensed to do security tokens. Because there is a big talk about security tokens versus utility token. And we as an exchange, obviously not licensed to trade securities, it is very important, back to the legal opinion. I have to clearly state that it's not a security. So anything over that even looks like a security, and if a Singapore lawyer can't vouch for that, the simple fact is, if a Singapore lawyer clearly states to me that that token is a utility bill and someone else later points that it is, the lawyer have done a mistake. If I accept a US lawyer saying that it is not a security and Singapore regulators later say it is, then I break Singapore law. So that one is the most strict one.
The bottom line, go to the website, go through the process. If it takes a month or two, it's not anybody's fault. It is where the market is today. On your side, go to the website, sign up, go through the process.
Yeah, our advice is integrate the Bancor protocol so that your token has guaranteed liquidity on day one. Do this in parallel, of course, to all the processes that you're following with exchanges and other opportunities, and also try and enlist the backers of your project that really care about your project, that really want to see it succeed over time. Because if you end up in a paradigm where all of your contributors are looking for liquidity on day one because they're looking to sell your token on day one, you're going to have some complex dynamics to deal with moving forward, and it's not ultimately beneficial to the project, to the community, and to the decentralization ecosystem at large.
Thank you both, and you're always welcome to come back to D10E. Don't need a special invitation, just reach out to us and we'll always have you back. Thank you very much.